Last time, we saw how an augmentation dot placed after a note or rest increases its value or duration by 50%. We also learned that its opposite, the diminution dot, also known as the staccato dot, placed directly above or below a note or tab number, decreases its duration or sustain by 50%. Both kinds of dots can be used in some cases to render a simpler, less cluttered visual representation of a rhythm by eliminating a tie or a rest, which makes something written in sheet music or rhythmic tab easier to read. I'd now like to focus on the sound of the dotted quarter rhythm, which spans 1 1/2 beats, and look at different ways in which it can be conveyed and repeated with anticipated chord changes to create syncopation and dramatic musical tension via a chain of shifting accents. In I Got Rhythm Part 4, in the June 2020 issue of Guitar World, I cited the chorus to Photograph by Def Leppard, which is built with ringing eighth note arpeggios, as a good example of a rock song that has a chord change that arrives an eighth note early in each bar, meaning it's anticipated by half a beat, falling on the and of 2. 1 and 2 and, instead of squarely on beat 3. As you recall, it went something like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Interestingly, this same kind of push effect can be achieved in a rhythmically stripped down manner, with just a dotted quarter note followed by an eighth note tied to a half note, like this. 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 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 3, 4. You could strum the strings, or you could pick them like this. You get that more simultaneous piano-like note attack. Another option would be to use rests and staccato articulations to inject those holes of silence between accented chord changes, like this. 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. As you saw, I was plucking the strings using hybrid picking, but you could strum it as long as you quickly mute it. So the effect is the same. A third alternative way to achieve this same kind of harmonic rhythm is to strum chords in a continuous, unbroken stream of palm-muted eighth notes and change chords on the and of 2, like this. 2, 3, 4. So I'm going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. What's really cool about this approach is that it conveys the dotted quarter rhythm on top of a steady eighth note pulse, resulting in a rhythm within a rhythm. 2 for the price of 1, folks. Due to the inherent syncopation created by the anticipated chord change, the result is a driving and appealing sound. Another good example of this kind of syncopation can be found in the intro to the song Stacy's Mom by Fountains of Wayne, which goes kind of like this. 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and more simply in the verses it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Again, notice how a chord change falls on the and of beat 2, 1 and 2 and in each bar. And as with the previous example, I've notated dynamic accents above certain tab numbers to clearly illustrate this syncopation, but due to the inherent emphasis on a change in chords, the effect still comes across even if you disregard the accents and strum each chord at the exact same volume. A great way to build upon the interesting sound of a dotted quarter syncopation is to repeat it, with the next chord change falling on beat 4 and now being anticipated by a full beat. And a good example of this can be found in the song Good Times Roll by the Cars, where at the end of each chorus, guitarist Rick Springfield strums a 3-chord sequence that goes kind of like this. 2, 3, 4. So counting that, it's 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have that dotted quarter on beat 1, and then we have the second chord hit on the and of 2, 1 and 2 and 3. That's tied over to beat 3. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and that's tied. Notice that the time span between each of those chord changes is 1 1/2 beats, which is equal to a dotted quarter note and may be thought of as such. But to abide by the customary notational practice of showing the middle of the measure in 4/4 meter, with a blank space between beats 2 and 3, I've written an eighth note tied to a quarter note here, which I think as a music editor is helpful to the reader. This linking together of dotted quarter accents builds tension, and the effect can be prolonged and intensified by adding yet another one, which would then fall on the and of 1 in the next bar. And last time I pointed out the chorus of the song I've Done Everything for You by Rick Springfield as an example of this move. Remember, it went 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Referring back to Good Times Roll, that has that same chain of dotted quarter rhythms, and it brings to mind the song's ending where it goes 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4. So we have that first one, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2. That's the third one, and then we have 2 straight beats. So the effect, if you just look at the note, is and to more closely reflect what guitarist Rick Springfield plays in the end of the song, he does that same kind of rhythm within a rhythm approach with continuous eighth notes, kind of like this. 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4. So that's really nice because you still have that. But instead of block chords, we have the nice arpeggios. Good stuff.